Hello Superset Maniacs and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna discuss Phil Heath, and as you probably have figured it out already, this is going to be another Photoshop entertaining video where we're going to Photoshop Phil Heath having a wider clavicle bone for all the 8 mandatory poses in bodybuilding. Why are we doing this? Well, for me at least, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one thinking this. Prime Phil Heath is probably the closest thing to bodybuilding perfection. I'm not saying he's the best ever, even though he certainly is one of the best bodybuilders of all time. But what I try to say is that pound per pound, muscle group per muscle group, he's the most complete bodybuilder ever. You won't find any lacking muscle group on a prime Phil Heath. Like, come on, the guy had it all. One of the best and most complete backs of all time. Some of the best delts, biceps, triceps and forearms in the history of the game. Very complete wheels, quads, hamstring, calves, glutes. Hell, even his abs were more than decent in his prime. His chest was also round and full, yet Phil had a very noticeable weakness. His shoulder to shoulder width, which by the way is about his bone structure, not a particular muscle group. So, in this video, we're going to Photoshop Phil Heath having a wider clavicle bone. For all the 8 mandatory poses, I'm gonna use his 2011 Mr. Olympia physique, his best shape of all time. So without further ado, let's start with the front double biceps pose. His 2011 front double biceps was already one of the best of all time, with those crazy complete guns, crazy complete wheels and that tight and ripped midsection. He looks close to perfection already standing by himself, but when standing next to other bodybuilders with way wider structures, he was getting a bit vulnerable, I would say. He would compensate with that unmatched roundness and great conditioning, but what if Phil had a wide structure himself? Boom. I believe this would have been way more difficult or even impossible to beat. What do you guys think? Well, if in the front double he was looking already pretty unbeatable without needing more width, for the front lat spread he definitely needs it, probably more than in any other pose. This was arguably Phil's weakest pose in his prime, so let's do something about it. Boom! This is probably the sickest transformation in this entire video. This pose became from his worst to one of his best ones. There is no point in doing something about the side poses. Width is not relevant here for obvious reasons, so let's proceed to the back poses. And first, let's take care of the back double biceps pose. Phil Heath is already considered to be having one of the greatest backs of all time. His level of details and roundness may be unmatched. He's got incredible balance and symmetry as well, but yet some would argue that he is not wide enough. Boom! Not anymore. Wide Phil Heath is making sure his critics become his fans. Back lat spread, and just like from the front, he could use some more width in the lat spread pose, but the difference from the front lat spread pose is that his back lat spread pose is already one of the greatest of all time, at least in my opinion. Of course, width is important, but Phil's details, roundness and thickness may be second to none in this pose. Anyway, boom! Is this the best rear lat spread of all time? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're there, hit the like button if you're enjoying this. Abs and thighs, and yes, Phil was dangerous even in this pose in his prime. Of course, his wheels were on point and he had a narrow waist and some crazy deep cut abs. However, his narrowness becomes pretty obvious once more. He doesn't present a decent V-taper here. Boom! Of course, everything changes when having a wider structure. Now Phil has a great taper, a ripped midsection and world-class thighs. Most muscular, and once again standing by himself. You can argue this is perfection already, but like I mentioned earlier, When standing next to wider guys, he was getting vulnerable. Okay, maybe not in the most muscular, but having a wider structure would definitely improve this pose as well. So, boom. I don't think there's anyone in the history of bodybuilding who could defeat this physique right here in this pose. Before we finish, let's also take care of the crab variation of the most muscular pose. His shoulders and guns may be unmatched in this pose, but due to his narrowness, his chest looks narrow and kinda squeezed. But boom, everything changes with having a wider bone structure. This is definitely the most impressive crab, most muscular I have ever seen. What do you guys think about the topic of this video? Do you believe Phil with a wider clavicle bone would have looked anything similar to what we've done here? Probably not, as he would have lost of his roundness if his muscles needed to cover more bone, in my opinion, but who knows. Like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this, and as always, thank you guys and see you next time.